Hello, today we're going to be doing the makeup for Rapunzel. I'm just starting out with the same base from the base video, and then I'm taking some concealer and I'm going over my eyebrows. This is because I have naturally pretty dark eyebrows, and I'm going to try to make them blonde. So this is the best method I've found so far, is just going over the eyebrows with some concealer, and then I am going to take a spoolie and I am going to brush out my eyebrows so that that concealer really gets all over the eyebrow hairs and just gives them a nice coat. And then, if for some reason I didn't record this part, but I'm also going to, after everything's covered, tap some white powder over my eyebrows so that the powdered brow product sticks a little better. And I will do this after I make sure that it is all nice and covered. And just going back in and dotting a little more where it's still kind of dark, just to make sure that it all gets a nice even coat. And this will just make the application process much, much easier. And I'm just using that beauty blender to make sure there's no bits of concealer kind of around my face, that it's just the eyebrows that are nice and covered. So now I'm going to go in with this very fine brush, and I'm going to be using a couple of these yellows. I'm going to be using this really pale one and this kind of darker yellow. And like I said, I would usually put powder on before, but now I'm just going in with that darker yellow, and I am defining the edge of my eyebrows and then just blotting that color in and kind of using different parts of the brush just to make it look nice and pigmented. And just making sure I'm kind of patting that color in, especially if there's spots where the application is being a little stubborn. I'll just pat that pigment in before kind of feathering it out to fill the rest of my eyebrow. And I'm doing the same thing on the other side. I just want this to be nice and pigmented and make it look like I have nice blonde brows. And I am patting in a little bit of that lighter yellow just to make it nice and bright, and then fixing that outer corner on both sides. And I'm just making sure that that looks exactly how I want it. And then after this, I will go in with some concealer and clean up those edges. But getting the color on there is the most important thing first. So now I'm going to take this small brush and put a little bit of concealer on the back of my hand, just to give me a palette to work off of. And like I said, it's a really small round brush, and I'm just going to use this to clean up the edge of that eyebrow so it looks nice and sharp, and so it looks like the same shape as the other eyebrow. This really cleans it up and just makes sure they're even. And now I'm going to go in with this really warm toned brown, and I am just going to do really light on the contour. As you can see, I'm just doing little dots at the very top and then brushing off that excess product before blending out that contour. I want this to be very soft, so I am not doing too much. just enough to add that definition and color into the face, and then I'm using these round motions to make sure it is all nice and blended. And now I am going to go in and add a little bit of kind of this warm blush color to my nose, just because I want it to be nice and warm. And then I'm going to add it onto the apples of my cheeks, and I will be blending up to the higher part of my face, but focusing that pigment really on the roundest part of my cheeks, and really bringing that color forward in my face. And once I have that all blended out where I like it, I'm just going to make sure I have even pigment on both sides, and make sure that that pigment on my nose is not too harsh, that I'm making it nice and soft around the edges. And now I'm going to take this eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to go in with this very light blue on my lid. This is just going to be that color I start off with. It's just a very pale blue. And I'm just putting that all over my lid and over my crease, just to give myself a nice even base to work with. And I really want that pigment to come through, so as you can see, just to start this off, I am just tapping it onto those areas of my eye rather than smudging it. This will give you a better pigment to start off with. And I'm just making sure that I really have an even coat of that all over my lid. And now I'm just grabbing the eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to be using this blue just to bring a little more brightness to that. So I'm going to be using it in my outer corner and then blending it up into my crease. And as you can already see, this is just going to bring a little bit of life to that pale eyeshadow and a little bit of dimension while not messing with the color too much. Just going to brighten it up a bit. And then I'm just going to use whatever excess product's on the brush to blend it down underneath the corner of my eye, just so it is nice and connected. And now I'm going to take this flat angled brush, and I'm going to be dipping into a dark kind of grayish brown, and I'm just going to be lining the very corners of my eye with this and giving my eyes that definition. And I'll be bringing it up a little bit towards the outer corner to start a wing. And then coming from my lower lash line, I am just going to smoke out a little bit of a wing and just make it the shape that I want it to be. Just a nice full wing, but not too dark. And I'm just connecting it up to that line on my upper lash line before taking this fluffier brush and kind of blending out along the very bottom of that. It gives it this nice, sharp, kind of smoked out wing look, which I think works really well for this makeup. And now I'm going to go in with this very pale pink and just going with the natural shape of my lips. I'm not lining it or anything. I am just going to apply that really nice pale pink to make sure I have even coverage on my lips. And I want it to look relatively natural, so that's why I say nothing too dark and I'm not lining it at all. And then I'm just going to be adding a kind of peachy gloss on top of this. A clear gloss will work just as well. It doesn't change the color too much, just kind of changes the look, adding that gloss to it. And once that is where we like it, that is the finished makeup for Rapunzel. Thank you!